Welcome to Swolefam. Even though we love the skirmish gameplay of Warcry and Kill Team, there's something to be said about fielding a big army. Hence why I started New to Old World. The mission is simple. Make a fun and efficient 1,000-point list from a specific faction while making it as easy as possible to acquire and enjoy to hobby on. The criteria is as follows. We avoid making lists with repeat models unless unavoidable. The emphasis will be on plastic models, but there will be a lot of resin and metal ones as well. It's the nature of the game. And on that note, we will use new and old versions of models for these lists, and they'll be noted in the videos as such. There's multiple versions of a lot of models out there, and it's kind of negligible at this point, but it's just good to know we'll be focusing on newer ones usually.
So, raise your tankards as we venture into the Dwarven mountain holds. So, why play dwarfs? If you're like me and Gimli was your favorite member of the Fellowship, or if you just like enjoying a big old mug of mead while info dumping on some stupid, pretentious elf at the local tavern on why the engineering ingenuity of a goddamn cannon is better than a flimsy wooden bow in every way, you're in good hands. Like with pretty much all old world factions, flavor runs rich with the Dwarfen mountain holds. Their small stature makes their movement speed and combat speed, known in old world as initiative, at times painfully slow. However, they more than make up for this with powerful ranged infantry units and, you guessed it, cannons, and more cannons. Mow down distant hordes with your organ guns, absolutely torch threatening infantry with drake-headed flame cannons, and obliterate those pesky dragons and monster models with the classic and perfected vanilla cannon. Tar pit big threats with blobs of durable dwarf warriors with shields, and when what remains of your opponent's charred corpse finally limps up to your core backline, let them break upon the stalwart shields of your iron breakers. So, if you're down with a playstyle that leaves the big models on the shelf and castles up with superior firepower, let's get to the buy list. Collecting dwarfs is fortunately quite easy, unlike their chaos cousins. First, you'll start with the Dwarfen Mountain Holds Battalion box. This will flood you with the warriors and quarrelers that you need, while also providing you with a couple of super fun copters to shoot your opponent and dump bombs on their heads. I will warn you, however, the copters can be tricky to build, so just prepare for that. The propellers, that's what gets you. Next up, we'll grab a box of those Dwarfen cannons I spent the first few minutes of this video waxing poetic about. Each cannon can be built as either a powerhouse regular cannon or a multi-shot organ gun. Starting out, I recommend building one of each from this box. And finally, we'll need a leader. The option I'll recommend for today is the Dwarf King with Oathstone box. Do note that the King's feet are flat, meaning you can leave out the Oathstone if you don't feel like spending points on that, and just stand him on his base. It's also worth noting that you can run this guy as a Thane for cheaper if you're starting out for lower point games. Remember, it's not proxy in an old world, stats aren't locked to specific sculpts. Heck, use him as a rune lord if you want, I'm not a cop. Look at those runes on him, he loves it. Moving on to the list, we're starting things off with a Thane. Not quite the powerhouse of a king, but they'll certainly hold their own once the enemy reaches you. To make this little guy an absolute tank, we're giving him a master rune of Gromril, offering him a 2-up save, much rarer in old world than other games. On top of that, he's got a rune of shielding for a little extra durability, which gives him a 6-up ward. And to round out the runes, we've handed him a rune of fire, which gives his axe flaming attacks. It's a cheap upgrade, but it helps in some matchups. Finally, you'll see he has a great weapon because, well, dwarfs. Also, his initiative is pretty middling to begin with, and the rune of Gromril means going for a weapon and shield is pretty pointless. To keep the Thane safe in the back, he'll be tucked into an 8x3 block of warriors with shields, and will be mowing our enemies down with crossbow bolts from a total of 30 quarrelers. If that wasn't enough, we've got a gyrocopter and a gyrobomber for some fast-moving pressure, and an organ gun and a cannon in the back line to complete the full firepower package. Once you're ready to expand your army, we at Swolefam highly recommend filling out your backline to protect your general more thoroughly with a box of iron breakers. When supplied with shields, these little guys go to a whopping 3-up armor save, rerolling 1s due to their Gromril armor, into a 6-up ward from their runes of protection. Truly hard nuts to crack. Finally, a Rune Lord is a fantastic pick for shutting down enemy spells with a Rune of Spellbreaking, and another box of cannons never hurt nobody. Well, except your opponents when you blast the dragons they're so smug about right out of the sky. One final suggestion once you're comfortable with some light kit bashing is to convert a box of Quarrelers into Rangers. They're a pip higher ballistic skill for 2 points per model, allowing your crossbow bolts to hit on 3s instead of 4s. My personal recommendation for an easy conversion would be to find some third-party dwarf heads with little hoods to use in place of the Quarreler heads. Something about the hood of a cloak just says Ranger to me a lot more than a clunky metal helmet. So that's it! We were originally going to go through the legacy factions first, but Rafiq and I are such big fans of dwarves that we couldn't skip over them. Little short joke for you there. Anyway, there are obviously other directions you can go with dwarfs, since the line is pretty extensive, especially if you choose to step outside of the new re-release range. But that said, if you're comfortable doing that, you probably don't need a video like this. It would be sick, however, to see a fully invested Slayers-based army. Old World and Horus Heresy are definitely the games for flavor, and we here at Swolefam would love to see it. Signing off as your occasional host, this is Riley, and you've been watching Swolefam. Stay swole.